popular subject in horror films is terror that happens while out in the open ocean. Krakens, sharks, piranhas, and all sorts of sea creatures that can devour a human. However, what happens when that terror at sea comes to land? What happens if the creatures that come from below don't come from water at all? Join us today as we discuss subterranean monsters.
So this will be like my third episode of a series or show on the Black Crypt Podcast Network where I get to talk about the movie Chud.
Oh, fuck.
Did you do that for Scream Street?
Well, no, because it was part of my 31 for 31 episode that I did. So I got to talk about Chud, and I just can't get enough of it. It's great. Subterranean creatures, which is I'm super excited about this topic because some of my favorite horror films of all time deal with this matter. So like the subterranean, the caves, the mines, the just underground period. I'm excited. I'm excited
too, because one of my favorite films, and I don't know why I didn't, maybe because it has a little bit of comedy to it. I don't know why I didn't mention this for my favorite horror movies for Halloween, but Tremors. Graboids. That is like, I remember since being a kid when like the Sci-Fi Channel was like a big thing and whatnot. I remember watching this at my grandparents' house, and it was amazing. Kevin Bacon.
Kevin fucking Bacon.
Kevin Bacon, yeah. So I can't confirm this as being true, but I think that Tremors may have been the first rated R movie I watched with my mother's knowledge. Not 100%, because I can remember.
PG-13.
Is it really?
Yeah, because it's considered a comedy as well.
Okay, but man, there's a lot of cursing in Tremors, the first one.
Tremors 3, Back to Perfection, is actually PG.
Oh my God. Okay.
Now you know.
Well, cancel that then.
Now you know.
I swore the first one's rated R because that has a lot of language in it. Anyway, I can remember sitting on the floor of my childhood home and my mom being in the dining room, and she hears Tremors on the TV, and I'm sitting there watching it, and I was probably only 8, 9 maybe, and she says, "Now, you know not to repeat any of that language, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, Mom, of course." And then the first thing I did is I probably went to school, and I was like, "Hey, guys, fuck." I walk around like a king. So yeah, so Tremors, 1990, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Starring Kevin Bacon, and then also Michael Gross, who will go on to star in every single other Tremors movie.
Even the canceled series.
I can't imagine why they canceled it.
Actually, so we were watching a video on it, and it actually was pretty well received. But it replaced Farscape.
Yeah.
And so people kind of thought that they were trying to make this show a replacement for Farscape, and it was,
or like part of the universe or something like that. And so they just kind of blew it off, and it's real unfortunate because with Tremors, I really like the concept. Underground monster can be found anywhere, just pops up. It's very different. I feel like in terms of like a lot of other creature features or horror films, this one is almost like a Quiet Place sort of take where it's something totally different, things coming up from the underground, grabbing you, and it's very deadly. Whereas with other things, it's, oh, hey, I can see the creature coming at me, or, oh, hey, it's coming from the sky. Like, this thing is just coming out of freaking nowhere. It's massive, and it's swimming through the ground as if it's water. It's a very good concept, I think. But what's kind of, and maybe this is what makes it charming, is the fact it has a bit of a comedy aspect, or almost lighthearted. I mean, sure, people still get killed, but it's still not as, like, dark, gritty, or gothic by any means.
No, and the first Tremors movie is by far the most horror movie-esque of all of the Tremors movies because they just get more and more ridiculous as time goes on through the sequels. I just watched, because I hadn't seen it yet, and it's available for free right now on Netflix, is Tremors: A Cold Day in Hell, which is number 6 in the series, again starring Michael Gross. And they have we announced it a few episodes ago, there is a Tremors 7 coming out, so if you just can't get enough Tremors, it's
island theme this time.
Oh, island theme. How'd they get to the island?
Well, apparently a sexy millionaire playboy has taken some of the graboids to an island to hunt. And that's an interesting concept because I guess they couldn't escape, because what would it be? Like a giant sort of underground birdcage for them if it's an island? Or would they just dig so deep and then just start traveling under the ocean floor? I guess we'll find out in the movie.
I guess we will find out.
But that's a good concept.
Alex doesn't look too excited.
Alex is like, oh.
I don't fucking care. I don't. I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, I enjoy the fact that it has a little bit of comedic relief in it, but
the first Tremors, I agree with you. The first Tremors is awesome. It's good, and like you said, it has a little bit of comedy to it, but it does have terrifying moments as well, so you can definitely put it in the horror category.
And it's the introductory part of it where it's introducing you to the monster and all that sort of stuff, but as it progresses, it does get kind of silly. And might I add, if you are a gun fanatic, you will like the series as it continues with the character Bert.
Yeah, well, and Bert he's a gun nut, and I thought also she was only in the first movie, but Reba McEntire played Bert's wife, and she did such an amazing job playing that kind of like, she was also a gun nut, like that was their whole relationship, was they were two kind of, not hillbilly, but I guess a little bit more maybe redneck characters who have an obsession with guns, and it was fun, it was funny.
But in the second film, Bert mentions that she leaves him because the only time he's sane of mind is when the world's coming to an end or there's some sort of war going on. That's when Bert's at his peak and best, but if there's nothing going on, the guy, I mean, he says in the second movie, he's like, I'm pretty much insane.
Yeah. So what is a graboid, Shannon?
A graboid is a subterranean 15 to 20 ton worm from it's not Paleolithic as much as I want to say.
I don't know.
But it's from way, way back, as they say throughout the movies. Predating dinosaurs, I believe, have been around for that long. And these ginormous worms hunt via sound, vibration. Just a bit of a disclaimer, we're going to cover just the first evolutionary stage. And I know Alex is thinking, thank God, there's more.
There's the walkers, for whatever they call
the
them.
shriekers,
from 2.
And then the ass blasters, and then
from
the
3.
baby graboids, but they're like dragging something.
Yes. Like in the 5th one, there's like
propulsion.
Yeah,
you heard it here.
There's ones that like have wings that like.
Well, that's what the ass blasters have, 2 wings.
I thought that there was a different subspecies or whatever. There's several.
Maybe there's a more evolved version.
Too fucking many.
Too many. Yeah. I honestly, I honestly think, besides finishing Cold Day in Hell, I think I've seen all of the movies now. But it's like the kind of movie you watch on Sci-Fi Channel, and so you're not really paying attention.
You're
to
watching
it,
it ironically at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But anyway, so these subterranean prehistoric worms are basically, I don't know if they were stuck under some sort of plate or something, and some sort of fault line moving or earthquake caused a break that either woke them up or they were able to get through some sort of part in the earth that was, because they can't get through solid stone. Any super, super tough, durable, hard material, they cannot dig past. So I don't know if anything broke in the crust or whatever, and they're finally able to come out, but that's how they show up in the film, is after some sort of earthquake or something like that.
So they basically just have giant worms with armored faces, and then they have like tongues that are like snakes with little mouths, kind of like Alien. You know, they have an extra tongue that also have little mouths that can grab you and pull you under the dirt and all of that. So.
If we are to quote the Wikipedia article, a graboid will be up to 30 feet long and 6 feet across at the widest point, and weigh 10 to 20 tons. Graboids have no eyes. They do not need them due to living underground. Their heads consist of a massive black armored beak, which is used to push aside the dirt while digging. The beak opens up like a grotesque flower. It consists of a wide upper jaw, a thinner lower jaw, and a pair of hooked mandibles. One on each side. Graboids have 3 long, powerful snake-like tentacles, which are prehensile and can be at least a good 6 foot in reach, possibly up to 10. Right. Each of these tentacles, which have been loosely compared to functioning like the creature's tongue, terminates in a toothed mouth of its own, similar to aliens, I guess we'd say. The graboid's common name is derived from these prehensile tentacles, which grab prey and pull it back to the graboid's hungry gullet. A graboid's hide is thick and leathery with a rough, pebbly texture and gives them a reptilian appearance, although they aren't really reptiles. This makes them very hard to kill with anything short of saturation bombing or large bore rounds. So basically what we're looking at here is a armored worm, and why throughout the series they got to keep upgrading their arsenal to handle.
Yeah, and in the first movie, Bert brings out the elephant gun that he like keeps in a special glass case, and, like breaks out, and he has like the ammunition. And Reba McEntire is, I don't remember what his wife's name, the character's name is, but she's like, oh dang, you're getting the elephant gun, and he's like, we need penetration since they're under the ground and whatever. And there's a famous line that I think I have the GIF on my phone, but she's like, we didn't get the penetration even with the elephant gun, like.
And I love how they come back to that sort of in the second movie as they're going through the arsenal that he got from the Mexican army.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I got, this much explosives and, this sort of elephant gun, which is basically like a cannon. And then they're looking at some big, long artillery round that he has. And he says, well, what's that, Bert? And he goes, that's none of your business and for my collection later.
Private collection, yeah.
Because he just wants to collect all this asinine artillery.
Now that we know what graboids are, and that's my favorite thing in the movie, by the way, is when Walter Chang is the Chinese immigrant that owns the general store in Perfection, Nevada, is the name of the town, and he's like, they're trying to come up with names. He's like, we discovered. He's like very like. Kind of stereotypically Chinese, yeah. And so, but he's like, we discovered these. We get to name it or whatever. And he's like, graboids or whatever, and that's the one that actually sticks, and it's hilarious. The whole scene is funny, and then he gets eaten.
Yeah, and then they mention that actually in the second movie. He goes, well, we got the name from.
Yeah, Walter Chang. Yeah,
Walter Chang, and then they promptly ate him afterwards.
Yeah, and then and the best part about Walter Chang too is that it's Kevin Bacon's in the movie. So the whole movie, Kevin Bacon's playing this like redneck. He's like, "Dang it, Walter!" And they're so whatever. I think it's Walter. It's got to be, yeah.
God, I hope so, because I'm not going to go back and edit this just to put in one word every time we have to say that guy's last name.
So what are the pros? What's a graboid have going for it?
Well, the fact that it is a monstrous armored worm that's underground, hard to get to unless it surfaces, or, as you see in the movies, they use a bait-like explosive for it to consume and then blow its ass apart from the inside. So it can travel underground. It has the capability, as we see in the movies, to pull a station wagon underground and cause small structures to collapse by digging underneath them, because they start to get smart after a while to various techniques that the survivors are using against them, and they start to pick up on that.
So they have some degree of intelligence to them, at least, and all of that.
Limited in.
Yeah. Have you seen the SpongeBob episode with the Alaskan bullworm?
The Alaskan bullworm, yes.
This is the only thing that's going through my head right now. And I genuinely enjoyed the first 2 movies, and I like comedic horror, but for some reason, this series, I just roll my eyes at.
Well, now we know why I like it. It's because it's that kind of a movie.
I don't know what it is. There's certain ones where I really will enjoy watching and laughing and just how ridiculous it is. Like it's almost like Sharknado to me.
It's 100% like Sharknado. Yeah, they know what kind of.
They know what they're doing, and they know what type of movie they're putting out there, which is cool. And I mean, you like it or you don't. And I'm just one of those guys that I don't. Like I said, I like the first 2. Because I have very fond memories of the first one when I was really young, watching it and being like, "Oh, this is scary as fuck." And I mean, obviously now it's not the same thing, but I don't know what. I remember, I don't know how many episodes ago it was we were talking about. They're talking about Tremor 7. I'm like, please stop.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Please stop.
But you know what? I mean, this Michael Gross is making money. As long as they continue to make money, they're going to keep making them.
Yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
matter.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing I start to wonder after a while is if they didn't go the pseudo comedic route with it, would it still be as good?
I
if
doubt
they
it.
really forced the horror.
If they try to take it seriously, these movies franchises would not work at all. It would not work at all.
And then I wonder, is there a way to make it horrifying? Granted, they'd have to go a different route, but do you think there could ever be a way they could make it?
I think if they took the
Scary.
sci-fi aspect out.
Which, okay, I'm going to get up on my soapbox now. I hate the sci-fi CGI bullshit that they're pulling with most movies now, and especially the later Tremors. The puppeteering beforehand and the first couple ones, great.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's the same thing they did with the Dark Crystal series. They tried that CGI shit. It didn't look as good, didn't have the same good feel. They went back to puppets. Amazing.
Yeah, I will always 100% support practical effects over CGI when you can. Sometimes there's no possible way you can do it, but in CGI works better. But I 100% agree. Anytime you can do practical effects, do it.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Does that wrap it up for Graboids?
I think so. I think we've talked about Graboids enough.
Long enough.
I could talk more, but I'm going to let it
I
go.
can talk about the Tremor series all day. I think the only way they could really do an actual horror Tremors movie would be to completely 100% reboot it. I mean, couldn't be a sequel. It would have to be a reboot
Separate
with new
universe,
actors,
like
new
Lords of
movie.
Shadow,
You almost
Castlevania.
have to fucking rename it. Like at that point, like I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's possible. But yeah, definitely have to reboot the entire series completely.
Yeah. Well, next up is actually unironically one of my favorite horror films of all time. And not the sequel, but we're talking about The Descent. And so if you haven't seen The Descent, first of all, what are you doing listening to this podcast?
That should be a
Yeah, you're
prerequisite
fucking
at this
wrong.
point.
You're wrong at this point.
Number two, if you haven't watched The Descent is a movie about it's an all-female
It's about
cast.
a gynecologist, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, and he goes splunking deep.
Can you imagine having like a quote unquote, like, you know how some dentists and some doctors and physicians and stuff are like funny doctors or funny dentists or whatever, how they like cracked it? Can you imagine having like a funny gynecologist who just like goes there like, all right, go ahead and hello. This little gynecologist humor, like how off-putting would that? Anyway, I don't
want to hear a really quick cool story about joining the army. When you go to MEPS in St. Louis, there's an entire room full of dudes in their boxers just wrapped around this big table, and each one of you has to individually walk behind a curtain, and a doctor sticks his fucking finger in your asshole really quick. You have to like bend over, and he sticks his finger in your asshole, and I can't even remember exactly what that was for or like how that was necessary. I don't know if that was really pertinent to being.
Alex says, everything okay back there, Doc? Oh, I'm not a doctor.
I'm not done yet. Not done yet. Yeah, and that's a good time, man. It's real quick, like, oh fuck, like, oh, easy there, bud, easy.
That wasn't fun. Was he funny?
No, there was no talking during the end. It was a very quiet session.
I know it's a lot of dentists or orthodontists are like that. It's like, oh, hey, all jolly as fuck because, they're just taking a look at your teeth and then, driving their fancy car.
Yeah. Well, and then they want you to answer questions like, so how's the family? You're like,
Yeah, like,
Oh, sounds great. All right, see you next week.
yeah.
Don't forget that copay.
Anyway, The Descent is a movie. It's an all-female cast. Well, the main cast is an all-female cast about a group of female friends who are going cave diving, spelunking over a weekend in what one of their friends has them believe is a safe, previously explored cave system, in which fact it is actually not. She lies to him so she can try and get a little bit more excitement out of the weekend by going into an unexplored cave system. Well, that's mistake number one, because that cave system is actually filled with horrifying cave-dwelling monsters. And although I honestly don't think in the actual movie they give the creatures a name at all, the director and the media and everybody afterwards has referred to them as crawlers. So that's what we're going to go with. If the director says they're called crawlers, they're called crawlers.
And quite a few other movies do more or less the same thing. As I was researching all this, from Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, the quote-unquote tooth fairies or little creatures in that were actually called homunculi, which I thought was weird because they were... Homunculi historically are a creature created by alchemy and man.
Yeah.
But a lot of movies do that where they don't actually give a name.
You know, in the Halloween series, Michael Myers is just the shape.
Yeah.
You know, and they never reference him as the shape. But so they're, imagine if you will, these creatures are. There was a journalist, Douglas Saying, and this comes from the Wikipedia article, this reference, who is a journalist for the Straits Times, said that the crawlers look similar to Gollum from Lord of the Rings, if you kind of think back to that movie and think of what Gollum looks like. A cross between that and the Reaper vampires from the Blade 2 movie. So again, you're really going to have to dig into your 1990s movie history now. But so Blade 2, the Reapers, they're kind of like bald-headed with these weird mouths that open crosswise and everything. And they're kind of like, slimy looking, just kind of how you would imagine like translucent skin, no vision. And that's another running theme that we see with these underground or these subterranean creatures is they don't have vision, because as you know, for a lot of these species who have evolved in the absence of light, they don't need vision. So instead they have other things, like the crawlers have incredibly sensitive hearing, and they have these kind of ears that look like bat ears to try and funnel in all of the sound.
And don't they make echolocation in a sense as what like bats do as well?
They kind of like click and make group and things as well.
I remember that.
That would be like echolocation does. So that's kind of what you should picture. And as you can imagine, this group of women that finds themselves in these caves encounter these creatures, and so the whole movie turns into a fight for survival, because they are trapped in a cave. They're trying to look for a way out. Caves themselves are dangerous to begin with. There's
those scenes where they're crawling, or they have to like squeeze themselves through those small, if I have to squeeze myself through some sort of opening, I ain't going through that opening. One, very easy for that to collapse and not be able to get back through, and two, I got kind of a round belly.
Oh man, I'm the fat guy on the squad here. Number one, I wouldn't find myself in this situation, because number one, someone's like, "Hey Tucker, you want to go spelunking?" I'd be like, "Hell no."
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Hey, let me make it more interesting. Let's raise the stakes. Do you want to go underwater spelunking?
No. So,
Nope.
They say that the worst enemy of any broadcaster is radio silence. They say more than like a second and a half of radio silence, just people change the channel. So anyway, so that's basically what we're looking at. And you're right. Aside from the actual crawlers that are in the movie, the act of being in a cave is damn scary. You have to squeeze through tight spaces. There's a scene where they have to crawl across a ceiling over a cavern, like over a big pit, and they have to put these little carabiners and pins in the ceiling and literally use their finger strength to crawl across. And it's just very, it's a harrowing type experience. It's very nerve-wracking.
I don't get how they do that, because, like, my hands sweat. And to give an example of that... I'll be playing like Assassin's Creed whenever you have to like climb buildings, and my hands just watching that start sweating as I'm moving my character through, and I'm like, there's no way in hell I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
If I'm scaling some sort of building, I better have a shitload of chalk on hand to dry out my hands.
So for you, Alex, you've seen The Descent and you like The Descent. What for you is, I guess, as far as the crawlers go, what makes them like a formidable opponent or a scary creature to have to face up against? What is it about the crawlers that makes them terrifying?
I think to me, they probably have been down in that cave or wherever for so long that they've completely adapted to their environment. And it's basically like you're coming into their home, you're coming into where they feel comfortable, and they know their surroundings and everything like that. So it makes you definitely more of the prey rather than the predator. And I think, I don't know what you guys were talking about earlier. I would rather go head on with a crawler than be squeezing through a tight space. That just watching some of those scenes gave me anxiety. Because I don't like, I could go spelunking, I could go cave diving, I could do any of that. But the second you tell me I have to like burrow into some type of hole, or, hey, be careful, you have to slowly just kind of go through this small little tight space. And I don't like being constricted. I don't like fucking that type of situation. That makes me like freak out even more than, because you're supposed to be cool, calm, and collective in those situations. And me,
some people just panic.
Yeah, the second that I get like halfway through and my lower portion can't get through like my top portion or whatever, I would immediately start freaking out and probably hyperventilate. And honestly, like, that scares me more than the crawlers.
Well, I offer you this, and this kind of got me thinking at the beginning of Tucker's intro for this segment. He did a comparison to the ocean. I think I would go splunking well before I'm going to go to some deep, dark-ass ocean. I am not doing that. I don't know what happened, but I have a huge fear of the deep ocean.
That is my top fear, is being stranded out in the middle of the ocean.
And I don't know where it came from.
Well, you guys love the game Raft.
Oh yeah. So that's actually going to get into it. It's like,
I don't know
anytime
why.
I got to jump off the raft in that game, doesn't matter if the shark's there or not, I am terrified when I see that black nothing abyss underneath me.
That scares the shit out of me.
But that's why I made the comparison between caves or being underground and the ocean, because you're at a severe disadvantage for both of them. You are out of your element, like Alex just said. You're in someone else's world at that point.
Especially the ocean, because you're not supposed to be there. You can't even breathe there, but with the cave, at least you can breathe, and it's a little bit of a better advantage.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But guess what? I mean, like, if your lantern goes out, your light goes out, you might as well be not able to breathe, because it's not like it is in the movies where the light's dim. You know, it's like blue light and you can barely see. It is literally no light.
Yeah.
And so you cannot see.
None.
And so you are dead. If your light goes out, you're dead.
Well, in the second movie, I don't know if we want to talk about that, if that's taboo.
Yeah, we can quickly. Yeah.
But
there always a second.
One of the survivors from the first movie that's still in the cave, her eyes have changed a bit, remember? Because when they first come across her again in the second movie, they're like huge. Like the pupils have just slowly started to dilate farther than normal. So I think after a while, she began to slowly adapt, because it was a couple days of being in just pure darkness. And I think without there being that sensory input, because that's another scary thing, without being able to see in those dark caves, your brain has to fill in the gaps of what it can't see. So that's a little bit terrifying, on top of the part that her eyes had to develop just so she could kind of get around, because she made it. She was able to avoid the creatures.
And the fact that there's actual monsters in there with you too. So like, not only is your imagination running wild, but there are
actual monsters. So that had to be just immediate. Like just insanely terrifying for her.
That's what happens to my pupils when I see on the sign, the McDonald's sign, that the McRib's back. My pupils just dilate.
Oh, you like cafeteria food in your fast food now?
Yeah, it's all garbage. What are you talking about?
Oh, you got me there.
You know what you're getting there.
Yeah. So The Descent, it's an amazing movie. If you have not seen it, go watch it, definitely. And I know I say that a lot, but The Descent truly is an essential horror film for like horror fans.
We cover good horror films here.
Yeah, we do. Occasionally we do. Yeah. The Descent 2, skip it unless you just love the first one so much you want to watch it. It's worth a watch, but it's not.
You're not going to get much closure.
You're not.
I would take that hour and a half and spend it somewhere else if I were you.
Like getting McRibs.
Let me guess. You'd spend it on 6/8 of a Hocus Pocus movie.
Yes. Yes, I would.
At this point, when this episode is airing, it's February, and Halloween's been over for like 4 months, man.
But
you got.
but then we're only 6 months away from Halloween at
That's
that
true.
point.
We've come full circle. Hey, everybody, stay tuned for our Halloween special. We can just start the Halloween countdown.
Yeah.
Well, on to my next favorite, which is gonna be a treat.
It's gonna be a treat to all you listeners out there, boys and ghouls.
We're talking about Chud.
The what?
Cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dwellers. Chud.
Thank you.
So Chud is a cult classic movie now from the 1980s, and I know every time I mention Chud, I have to. This is my little Chud anecdote that I tell people who haven't seen it. It stars Daniel Stern is one of the main characters, and he plays like he's like a guy who feeds and houses homeless people. So like that's his thing. He's like a non-for-profit, like what would you call it, like a halfway house or something like that. And so he spends most of the movie just like in a white t-shirt, like from cooking stew or whatever homeless people eat. And so it's starring Daniel Stern, but it's also starring John Hurd, who most famously, he's a really good actor. Most famously played Kevin McAllister's dad in the Home Alone movie. Daniel Stern played one half of the wet/sticky bandits in Home Alone. So every time I see Chud, I just picture the Home Alone like cast and crew coming together for filming, and then like John Hurd and Daniel Stern just look at each other and they're like, Chud! Like point and like finger gun each other, or whatever. And so that's I know I say that every time, and you've already heard it. So, but I just love telling that because I just can't stop picturing it every time. Basically, the premise of the movie is that the government has been illegally dumping weaponized chemicals basically into the sewers. The sewer system, and the chemicals start to spread out as they contaminate the underground tunnels and all of that comprise, abandoned subway tunnels, the actual sewer itself. And the homeless population that has come to call these underground places home are mutated and transformed into the Chud from the chemicals, the cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
And then just as a side note, during the 80s, like toxic waste dumping was a big thing that they were throwing up on movies all the time. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
The Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, the Toxic Avenger, all that sort of thing. That was just a big deal back then, and you saw a lot of like, toxic this going on in movies.
Yeah. And so that's it. That's the basis of Chud, is that people and pets start disappearing, namely the homeless population who live in these tunnels, like I said, that have not been affected by the chemical or being attacked by these creatures. And they're kind of like, I guess I would describe them as like radioactive zombies type monsters. And as Shannon kind of mentioned off air, they don't get a lot of screen time. It is a lot about building up the tension rather than just like a horde of creatures or a horde of monsters attacking people. And so Daniel Stern becomes involved because the homeless people are dying, and that's who he cares about and cares for. And it's interesting. It's a fun movie. Honestly, it gets kind of a rep as being like a really bad 80s horror film, but it's not terrible. Like it is cheesy and it is campy, but they did a pretty good job with it. Like it's as far as the 80s go, which was like the era of camp. Like that's what all 80s horror films are, like Nightmare on Elm Street and all of those kind. It's not bad. The creature effects are okay. They're not state of the art or anything. They're okay. But it's worth a watch. And if nothing else, it's one of those kind of movies that you can get a group of friends together, crack open a few cold ones or whatever, and watch it and just at least enjoy it for what it is.
And that was just the thing back then, was campy sort of stuff. If it wasn't like a big blockbuster like Halloween or anything like that, it was this real campy movie. And you don't see too much of that nowadays. Like it's kind of,
I think it's having a resurgence. Like you had mentioned over the Thanksgiving holiday, Thanksgiving.
Oh God, that was.
And like I'm talking like so that's obviously an extreme example of bad. But you have like
too self-aware.
Yeah, you have like Zombievers and these like movies that are self-aware, but they are doing a good job at being ridiculous and campy. Like it's fun to the point where you don't have to think about it. Like Alex always says, shut your brain off and just watch a movie. You know, you don't have to follow an intricate Shutter Island storyline or anything, and you can just enjoy it for what it is.
Like Rubber.
Like Rubber. That's the tire movie,
God.
right?
Yeah.
With the murderous tire.
It's like a Christine spinoff.
Yeah.
It spun off of Christine.
Literally. Yeah, that tire fell off.
Well, we love to talk, and so we could obviously talk about there's 100 movies that have underground or subterranean creatures of some sort. And so we don't have time to talk about all of them as in-depth as we would like to. For instance, we have like the movie The Cave came out the exact same year as The Descent. It just unfortunately wasn't as good as The Descent and honestly wasn't as well hyped. So you have the same kind of basic premise with this group of people going down into a cave with these cave creatures that are attacking and hunting them down and killing them, that are blind and have good hearing and all that. But it just, you can't cover everything. I mentioned to you earlier, Shannon, off air, that Pennywise the Clown is a subterranean. From It is a subterranean monster. He is literally a monster that lives in an aqueduct drain underground. And honestly, except for a few visions and appearances, he doesn't appear above ground at all, hardly, in the movie. The actual physical monster doesn't.
But isn't he supposed to be like some cosmic being too that for some reason is underground?
Because
with his dead lights and he is beyond comprehension and stuff like that. It's like if you're beyond comprehension, what the hell are you doing underground?
Because from the original It movie, I always thought Pennywise the Clown was like an alien creature.
Yes, kind of like that
is what I always thought. But then he, like in the new movies, they kind of like point it as like some sort of like Galactus creature, some cosmic being that
or like some sort of like Cthulhu-esque old god thing that's always been around. And if we're gonna take this further into other movies as well, that's like sort of pseudo underground, because I mean, granted, sewer systems are man-made. What about The Hills Have Eyes? Aren't they kind of sort of underground, if I remember correctly? I don't know if the new or the old ones.
Yeah, the Hills Have Eyes. They're more like backwoods hillbilly, but
they're kind of underground though, because historically, if I remember correctly, there was a large cave system that movie was based off of, that this family out on the east end of the United States was living in, that it's all based off of.
Okay.
That, like they hunted, like when a bunch of deaths in a town started happening, they followed them down. They found this inbred family deep in this cave system, and that's where that all came from.
The movie, the fun creature feature from the 80s, Alligator. Alligator living in the sewer got big and now is coming up and eating people. I mean, another good example of something. I mean,
technically subterranean.
Subterranean. The list can go on and on and on, depending how deep you want to get into it and what you want to classify as a subterranean or an underground creature, basically. So we've talked a lot about movies and fictional creatures and underground subterranean monsters today. But what about those that maybe aren't so fictional, that we have lots of accounts of quote unquote accounts throughout the ages of real subterranean monsters? And no, I'm not talking about just those undiscovered species that we'll find in a cave system from time to time. I'm talking about the actual creatures of legend. Shannon, start us off. What's the first one we can talk about?
A real simple one that is known at least in America as well would be the Tommyknockers. Now, the Tommyknockers, if I'm going to be direct and just quote from Wikipedia, is a mythical creature in Welsh, Cornish, and what's that? Devon folklore. I'm not the best or strongest reader, listeners. It is closely related to the Irish
It's not
leopard.
his fault he can't read.
Yes,
Sorry, go
yes, yes. Related to the Irish leprechaun. Or the Scottish brownie even. Just, again, it's like small, fey-like, but still humanoid, almost dwarvish in a sense, sort of creature. The Cornish described the creature as a little person, 2 feet tall, with a big head, long arms, wrinkled face, and white whiskers. It wears a tiny version of standard miner's garb and commits random mischief, such as stealing miners' unattended tools and food, as well as it can do good deeds, such as keeping the miners and the people safe that are working in the cave systems. A very popular instance of that was, I believe, when they were building a train system out on the east end of America. There were 7 diggers, miners, whatever you want to call them at that point, that were tunneling, and a couple of the foreigners that believed in the Tommyknockers were talking about them to more American non-believers in that folklore, and the Americans were just, for lack of a better word, knocking on them, saying like, oh, that's bullshit, blah, 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 or whatever. Well, the knocking actually came, which they're known for, the sounds that they make before something bad is going to happen, whether that be a warning, hey, get out, or a warning, hey, we're about to do something malevolent, occurred. And the ones that believed that were foreigners across the sea ran out, and the Americans that were just all like, I don't believe in that hokum, they died in a cave collapse or mining collapse, tunneling collapse, whatever you want to call it. And that's a very good instance of what the Tommyknocker is all about and where it gets its name. It's the noise that they make. And as the Wikipedia article said, that, they're kind of either grayish or greenish. They will wear either a miner's uniform or some sort of tunic, and it comes very close to their gnome-like cousins due to the small size, stature, and apparel that they wear.
And that's the thing about, exactly like you said, Chan, they're called Tommyknockers because of the knocking that they do on the cave walls and things like that, which people believe it can have a couple of different meanings. Sometimes, as you said, they're warning the miners about impending doom, or don't go down this tunnel because that's the dangerous tunnel. But then also sometimes they might make these noises as a warning, like, this is our part of the cave, you stay out of here, don't come here, this is our territory or whatever. And so it's very much just like any other fae or fairy type creature in folklore, is that sometimes they're fun and cheeky, sometimes they're good and they try and save you, and sometimes they're just downright malevolent, and you just never really know what mood they're going to be in.
Exactly. And it varies from culture to culture, and it varies from species to species, as we cover in the gnome section of this, where if you are kind to them and take care of them, they're going to help you out. Some people like to seek out, it's like, how do I get a gnome or a Tommyknocker or something like that to come and assist me in whatever endeavor that I'm doing or help around. But you got to keep up with that, because you're invoking some sort of help or spiritual assistance from these fae. And fae are a bit fickle when it comes to things.
Temperamental, yeah.
Yes.
Well, speaking of gnomes, tell us about gnomes.
Gnomes vary when it comes to the different types of them. There are some that are seaboarding, like they will be on ships. There are some that protect homes or have dealings with your day-to-day chores or just stuff home related. And then there are garden gnomes, but gnomes are basically almost sentinels in a sense, but not like a giant towering guardian warding sort of one, but a small little helper in a sense. I mean, gnomes, Santa's elves, hopefully, listener, you get where I'm coming from here. They are the ones that a lot of people want to have around, helping them, whether it be protecting their garden or something of that nature, or helping around the house. Like sometimes people will experience, if they believe in whatnot, will have things done around the house, like chores or something like that, or the garden is no longer plagued by rabbits or insects or something like that.
Just more for time's sake as well, but we talk about gnomes and we talk about Tommyknockers, but it just, all of these creatures seem basically like a variation almost on the same type of mythology, on the same type of fairy creature. We also have goblins, and from the Germanic people we have kobolds, which again, kobolds very similar to the description of like a Tommyknocker. Sometimes they kind of venture out. Kobolds have known to be help out on ships, as well as almost like you said, different subspecies of the same fairy creatures.
And they help out in mines like the Tommyknockers do. But I feel like the gnomes are more like isolated to like being around humans and such.
Sure.
But the kobolds, I think, are the most universal out of all of them because they help on ships around people, populous cities and stuff. Well, not cities, but towns.
Yeah.
And mines as well.
So these are just kind of some examples, though, of. And, we can, in our modern day, in 2019, by the 2021, when this comes out, we can talk about how, like, oh, that's a bunch of nonsense. Everybody knows that goblins aren't real. Everybody knows that kobolds or gnomes and all of that aren't real. It all sounds like stuff that's straight out of World of Warcraft or out of Dungeons and Dragons, which it is, because those characters and those creatures from those stories are based on real life folklore from native heritage and native traditions of people from all around the world. And it's always seemed funny to me that no matter what culture you go to on two completely opposite sides of the world, they still have similar creatures in their folklore. Take dragons, for instance.
Yes.
You have dragons in Britain, you have dragons in the
China.
Asian countries, in China and all that, which are a huge part of their culture. Come over to the United States and you have descriptions of similar creatures. You have Nessie, you have Champ in Lake Champlain. So all of these creatures, even though they take places in completely different countries from completely different parts of the world, are all very similar in nature and do the same thing. These creatures that we're talking about today just so happen to all be, I guess what you call spirits of the underground, of mines, of caves, and things of that nature.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up our Subterranean creature episode.
This episode, you may not have heard about it because it's pretty underground.
I see what you did
See
there.
what I did there?
Yeah, it'll probably graboid you.
Thanks for listening. Asshole.
Oh my god.
Graboid him right in the.
Yeah.
All right, Trump.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. Again, we apologize for the length of time in between episodes, but again, we're doing the best we can. So get over it. And if you don't like it, then, well, keep listening, please. We need all the listeners.
Chances are we're not going to get another one out before then. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah,
Happy Valentine's Day,
Solstice, Happy Valentine's Day,
Happy 4th of
Happy
July.
Easter, and Happy St. Patty's Day.
Happy St.
and
Patrick's
just
Day
in
for you.
case, Happy Freedom Day, 4th
Yeah,
of July.
Happy 4th of July.
Just in case.
You never know.
Never know. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Always, always, always keep, because even though the Black Crypt podcast proper episodes come out about once every month and a half, keep an eye out for our other TV series. Did I say TV?
Yeah.
You did.
Why'd you say
Why did I
that?
say TV series? What for our
big
other
time.
series? So Shannon runs our YouTube page where we have Black Crypt Plays. We have Bite Size Horror that we had an episode of.
An episode. I kept meaning to do a bunch of others, but
We
We're
have
really active YouTube.
we have YouTube. We have
We're getting there.
Alex has Horror Cabinet, which he talks about horror video games. He has Booze and Booze, where he does real life interviews of paranormal experiences. I was on the last episode.
You sure were.
We're talking about my UFO experience. Just however you join us. Black Crypt Podcast at gmail.com or at Crypt Podcast or Black Crypt Podcast on Twitter and Black Crypt Podcast on Facebook.
In the shadows, whispers cry. Doors creak open wide. Cold winds breathe and echoes sigh.